You know that feeling when you're standing on top of the world? When the air smells crisper, the colors look brighter, and for the first time in your life, you think, I made it? Now imagine someone walks up behind you and shoves you off the ledge. And as you're falling, you look up to see who pushed you. It's not a stranger. It's not an enemy. It's your mother. And she's smiling. My name is Leo. I'm 26 years old. And until last Tuesday, I thought my life was just beginning. By the end of this story, you're going to watch me burn my entire family tree to the ground. But to understand why I did what I did, why I chose the nuclear option, you have to understand what I lost. Let me set the scene. I didn't grow up with money. Far from it. My mother, let's call her Brenda, was always struggling. We were the family that had to put groceries back at the checkout line because the card declined. I wore Goodwill clothes until I was old enough to get a job at 14 to buy my own. Because of that, I became obsessed with financial stability. I studied like a maniac. I worked double shifts. I didn't party in college, I interned. And 2 weeks ago, it all paid off. I landed a junior analyst position at a top-tier investment firm in Chicago. We're talking a six-figure starting salary. Signing bonus, the works. For a kid who grew up eating watered-down soup, this was the golden ticket. I remember walking into the HR office for my final onboarding. The office smelled like expensive coffee and success. I was wearing a new suit I'd bought on credit, my only credit card. Or so I thought, feeling like I finally belonged in this world. The HR director, a nice woman named Sarah who had been rooting for me during the interviews, called me in. I walked in with a grin, ready to sign the W-2. But Sarah wasn't smiling. She was staring at a file on her desk like it was a dead animal. She didn't offer me coffee. She didn't even look me in the eye at first. Have a seat. Leo, she said. Her voice was flat, cold. I sat down, the leather creaking loudly in the silent room. Is everything okay? Is there an issue with the start date? Sarah slid a piece of paper across the mahogany desk. It was a contract. It was a background check report, specifically. The credit and financial history section. Leo, she said, finally looking up. Her eyes weren't angry, they were full of pity, which was worse. We run standard financial background checks for all employees handling sensitive client assets. It's mandatory compliance. I know, I said, confused. My credit score is 720. I checked it on Credit Karma last month. Leo, she interrupted gently. Look at the total outstanding debt. I looked down. There in bold, black ink was a number that made my stomach drop through the floor. $245,000. I laughed. It was a nervous, dry sound. This is a mistake. There's a glitch. I have a student loan of $30 Kai and a credit card with a $500 balance. That's it. Sarah shook her head slowly. It lists 3 defaulted mortgages, 2 repossessed vehicles, 11 credit cards and collections, and a judgment for unpaid luxury boat loan from 4 years ago. I stammered. I don't even know how to swim. We can't hire you, Leo, Sarah said, standing up. The meeting was over. Your flagged as a massive security risk. With this level of financial instability and active fraud judgments, you can't be licensed. But it's not me, I pleaded. My voice cracking, I sounded like a child. Someone stole my identity. I can prove it. Then prove it, she said, opening the door. But until this is cleared, which could take years, we have to rescind the offer. I'm sorry. I walked out of that building carrying a box of my personal things before it even unpacked them. The security guard escorted me to the lobby. People were looking at me. I wasn't the golden boy anymore. I was a liability. I sat in my 2004 Honda Civic in the parking garage for an hour, just staring at the steering wheel. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt tight, like someone was standing on it. $245,000. I pulled out my laptop and tethered it to my phone. I paid $40 for an expedited, full detail credit report from all three bureaus, not the free app version, the deep dive. The file downloaded. I opened it, and as I scrolled, the blood drained from my face. Chase Sapphire Reserve opened 2018, defaulted. Nordstrom line of credit. Opened 2019, maxed out. Prosper Purse and a loan $50, K-Purpose minus home renovation. Opened 2020. Marine Finance Group $80, K-Asset minus 2020 Sea Ray Boat. Repossessed. I looked at the dates. 2018. I was a sophomore in college. I was living in a dorm, needing ramen. Then I looked at the addresses associated with the accounts. They weren't random addresses. They weren't P.O. boxes in Nigeria or Russia. Every single account was registered to 140 to Maple Drive. My mother's house. I looked at the authorized user names on the credit cards. Primary account holder Leo, my last name. Authorized user name Brenda, my last name. She hadn't just stolen my identity. She had worn it like a skin suit. She had used my social security number, which she obviously had because she's my mother, to fund a lifestyle she couldn't afford, while I was working double shifts at a warehouse to pay for my textbooks. I felt like I was going to throw up. I remembered 2020. That was the year she renovated the kitchen. She told me she won a small settlement from a car accident. I remembered the boat. She posted pictures of it on Facebook, claiming her boyfriend bought it. I never met the boyfriend. There was no boyfriend. It was me. I bought the boat. I just didn't know it. I didn't call her. I didn't text. I turned the key in the ignition and drove 2 hours straight to 140 to Maple Drive. I needed to see her face. I needed to see if she would lie. When I pulled up, the house looked nice. Freshly painted beige siding, probably paid for with the home renovation loan in my name. There was a new wreath on the door. It looked like the home of a responsible, middle-class woman. I used my key and walked in. She was in the living room watching The Real Housewives, drinking a glass of white wine. She looked up, surprised. "Leo, honey," she put the wind down. A big, fake smile plastered on her face. "I didn't know you were coming. Did you start the big job today? Did you bring champagne?" The audacity. The sheer, unadulterated goal. I didn't smile back. I walked over to the TV and turned it off. The silence that filled the room was heavy. "What's wrong?" she asked, her smile faltering slightly. "Why do you look like that?" I reached into my bag and pulled out the credit report. I threw it on the coffee table. It landed with a heavy thud next to her wine glass. "They rescinded the offer, Mom." She blinked. "What? Why?" "Because apparently," I said, my voice shaking with a rage I didn't know I possessed. "I own a boat. And I renovated this kitchen. And I spent $10,000 at Nordstrom 3 years ago." She went still, not scared still, like a predator that's been spotted in the grass. She didn't gasp. She didn't look confused. She just looked at the papers. Then back at me. "Oh," she said. "That was it. Just oh." "Whoa?" I screamed. "That's all you'd have to say? You stole my identity. You used my social security number. I lost the job, Mom. I'm $250,000 in debt because of you." She sighed, rolling her eyes as she picked up her wine glass again. Leo, stop being so dramatic. You're making a scene. There is no one else here, I yelled. Explain this, now. She took a sip of wine, relaxed back into the sofa, and dropped the mask. The sweet, struggling mom was gone. In her place was the person I realized I never really knew. I needed the money. Leo, she said casually, I raised you for 18 years. I clothed you, fed you, put a roof over your head. Do you have any idea how expensive kids are? You owe me. I owe you. I was trembling. So you ruined my future? I didn't ruin anything. She scoffed. I was helping you build credit. It just got a little out of hand. But look, she gestured around the room. The house looks great. And that boat was really fun for the summer before they took it back. You should be happy. I was enjoying my life. You committed a felony. I whispered, this is fraud. Serious, federal fraud. She laughed. I cold, sharp sound. What are you going to do? Call the police on your own mother? Don't be ridiculous. You're a smart boy. You'll get another job. You can pay this off in a few years with those fancy finance checks. Consider it a repayment for your childhood. She stood up and walked toward me, trying to put a hand on my shoulder. Besides, nobody arrests a mother for using her son's name. They'll just think you're a confused kid. Now, sit down. Making lasagna. In that moment, something inside me snapped. But it wasn't a loud snap. It was quiet. I looked at her hand on my shoulder. The manicure she'd had French tips. Was probably paid for with my credit card. I looked at her face. There was no remorse, no fear. She truly believed she was entitled to harvest my life like a crop she had planted. If I stayed and argued, she would gaslight me until I believed I was crazy. She would cry. She would threaten suicide. She would play the victim. I knew her playbook. So I did the one thing she didn't expect. I smiled. It was a dead, empty smile. You're right, Mom, I said. She relaxed instantly, seeing the good obedient son return. See? I knew you'd understand. We're family. Money is just paper. Yeah, I said. I'm just in shock. I think I need to go for a drive, clear my head before dinner. Okay, sweetie, she beamed, patting my cheek. Don't be long. Lasagna is ready in 40 minutes. I walked out the front door. I got in my car. I didn't go for a drive. I drove to the nearest electronics store and bought a burner phone with cash. I drove to my apartment, packed two suitcases with my most essential clothes and documents. I drove to the bank and withdrew the $3,000 I had in savings, the only money she hadn't touched because it was in a separate bank she didn't know about. Then, I blocked her number, I blocked her email, I blocked my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, anyone who would act as her flying monkeys. I didn't eat her lasagna. I didn't go back to apologize. I drove for 6 hours until I crossed state lines. I checked into a cheap motel under a fame. I sat on the lumpy bed, staring at the peeling wallpaper. I was unemployed. I was technically bankrupt. My family was gone. But as I sat there, the grief started to fade, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. Now, as she wanted me to pay for her life, she wanted to talk about building credit. Okay, Mom. Challenge accepted. I wasn't going to just pay it off. I wasn't going to let this slide. I pulled out my laptop and opened a blank document. I started typing a timeline. Phase 1 survival. Phase 2 evidence. Phase 3 execution. She thought she had buried me. She didn't realize she had planted a seed. The golden child Leo was dead. The Leo who was going to destroy her was just being born. Revenge is a dish best served cold? No, that's a cliche. In my experience, revenge is a dish best served with a side of forensic accounting and a slide deck. When we left off, I was 22, homeless, $245, zero in debt, and driving away from the woman who gave birth to me. I had just realized that my mother, Brenda, was not a parent, he was a parasite. For 4 years, I was a ghost. She probably thought I was dead or working at a gas station somewhere. She didn't know that every single day of those 4 years, I was sharpening the knife. Welcome to the rebuild. The first 6 months were hell. I didn't have a glow up immediately. I had a survive or die phase. I lived in a motel that smelled like stale cigarettes and bleach. I ate peanut butter out of the jar because I couldn't afford bread. But I had one thing Brenda didn't have. I knew the truth. I didn't just try to get a job. I declared war on my own credit report. I filed police reports in 3 different counties. I sent affidavits to the FTC. I spent hours on hold with fraud departments, explaining over and over again, no, I did not buy a Sea Ray boat. I was in a dorm room. It was grueling. The system is designed to protect banks, not victims. But I was relentless. I also pivoted my career since I couldn't get hired in high finance with my credit score nuked. I took a job as an entry-level clerk at a small boutique law firm that specialized in, wait for it, asset recovery and fraud litigation. I told the owner, a shark named Marcus, my story during the interview. I laid it all out. He looked at me over his glasses. So, you're telling me you have a personal vendetta against fraudsters? I don't just want a job, I told him. I want to learn how to hunt. He hired me on the spot. Fast forward for years. I'm 26. The debt? Gone, cleared. It took 3 years of legal wrestling. But I proved the signatures were forged. My credit score is back to 780th. The job? Not a clerk anymore. Marcus S. led forensic analyst. My entire day job is finding hidden money and exposing liars in divorce courts and corporate embezzlement tests. I became terrifyingly good at tracking money. I learned that liars always leave a paper trail. They get arrogant, they get sloppy. And Brenda, she was the sloppiest of them all. I never stopped watching her. I didn't contact her, but I watched. I hired a private investigator, an ex-cop named Miller, to keep tabs on her. Every month, Miller sent me a report. Subject: purchased a new Mercedes, leased under Aunt Linda's name. Subject is dating a wealthy widower. Subject is talking about retiring early. I watched her life from a distance. She was living large, telling everyone her son went crazy and ran away because of drugs. She played the tragic mother perfectly. I waited. I wasn't interested in small petty revenge. I didn't want to just yell at her. I wanted to wait until she had something to lose. And then, last month, the opportunity dropped into my lap. My phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. But the area code was from my hometown. I answered, "This is Leo." "Leo? Oh my God, is that you?" It was Aunt Linda, my mother's sister, the biggest enabler in the family. "Hi, Linda," I said, my voice professional. "We've been looking everywhere for you," she cried. "Your poor mother has been sick with worry. How could you do this to her? Disappear for 4 years?" I leaned back in my ergonomically designed office chair, looking out at the city skyline. "I've been busy, Linda. What do you want?" "Well," she huffed, clearly annoyed I wasn't groveling. "Your mother is holding a very special party this Saturday. It's a double celebration. Chef's officially retiring, and Nas bought a villa in Spain. Chef's moving next month." Spain. My ears perked up. If she moved to Spain, recovering any assets or serving her with legal papers would become a nightmare. She was fleeing. She was cashing out. That sounds nice, I said. She wants you there, Leo. Linda said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. She's ready to forgive you. She wants the whole family together before she leaves. She even mentioned she has a surprise gift for you to help you get back on your feet. I almost laughed out loud. The gift was probably a check for $500 that would bounce, or maybe she needed my signature to release some trust fund. I didn't know. I had so she could steal that too. He wants to bury the hatchet? I asked. Yes, she loves you. Leo, please, come home for the family. This was it. The trap was set. But she thought I was the prey. She thought the desperate, broken Leo would come crawling back for a scrap of attention and a slice of retirement cake. She had no idea she was inviting the Grim Reaper to her party. Okay, Linda, I said, putting on my best broken son voice. You're right. I'm tired of running. It'll be there. No, wonderful. Linda squealed. It's at the country club, Saturday at 6 p.m. Dress nicely. Leo, there are going to be important people there. Don't worry, I said, staring at the thick file labeled BRNDA-FINAL on my desk. They'll bring everything I have. As soon as I hung up, I called Miller the PI. It's a go, I said. Did you get the video? Found it yesterday. Miller's gravelly voice replied, high definition. 4K? It's beautiful. Leo. She hands the guy the fake ID right in the frame. The bank statements? Detailed. I traced the retirement fund. It's not a pension, Leo. It's a Ponzi scheme she's running on her church friends. Plus the remortgaging on the house. She forged your signature on back in 2021. Perfect. I spent the next 3 nights building the most important presentation of my life. I'm a forensic analyst. I make data look scary for a living. And for this, I pulled out all the stops. And I created a PowerPoint. Slide 1, the cost of love. Slide 10, a split screen. On the left, my rejected background check from 4 years ago. On the right, her purchase history for designer handbags from the same month. Slide 25, the smoking gun video. I loaded it onto a USB drive, a sleek, silver metallic drive. Then I went shopping. I didn't go to Goodwill. I went to a bespoke tailor. I bought a charcoal gray suit that cost more than the car I drove in college. I got a haircut. I polished my shoes until they looked like mirrors. I looked in the mirror. The scared kid was gone. The eyes staring back were old, hard, and ready. Saturday night, the country club. I pulled up in a rental. A modest sedan. I didn't want to tip my hand that I had money. Not yet. I walked into the ballroom. It was gaudy. Too many balloons. A banner that said Bon Voyage Brand a minus the Queen retires. There were about 50 people there. Family, church friends, neighbors. And there she was. Brenda. She was wearing a glittering gold dress, holding a champagne flute, holding court like royalty. She looked happy. She looked like a woman who had never faced a consequence in her life. She spotted me near the entrance. The room went quiet. She gasped theatrically, hand to her chest, Leo. She rushed over, her heels clicking on the parquet floor. She threw her arms around me. She smelled like expensive perfume and lies. Oh, my baby boy. Now, she cried, loud enough for everyone to hear. You came back, everyone. Look, my son is finally home. She pulled back, looking me up and down. She noted the suit, but assumed I probably rented it. Her eyes gleamed with that familiar predation. I'm so glad you decided to stop being stubborn. She whispered, her grip on my arm tight, her nails digging in. We have so much to discuss. I need you to sign some papers later for the house sale, okay? just standard stuff. There it was. She was selling the house I had technically paid to renovate. Sure, Mom, I said, smiling that same Ed smile from 4 years ago. But first, I have a surprise for you. A surprise? Her eyes lit up. She loved gifts. Yeah, I said, raising my voice so the room could hear. I heard you're retiring. I heard you're going to Spain. I wanted to give a toast. And I put together a little slideshow of memories. The guests scored. Oh, were, said Aunt Linda. That's so sweet. Brenda looked hesitant for a second, but her ego won out. She loved being the center of attention. Now, Leo, you didn't have to. I insisted. I said, I really want everyone here to know exactly how you made this retirement possible. The hard work, the sacrifice. I walked over to the AV station. The DJ, a bored teenager, looked at me. HDMI, I asked. Here, plug it in. He mumbled. I plugged in the silver USB drive. The projector hummed to life. The big white screen behind the stage flickered. Brenda stood center stage, smiling at her friends, waiting for baby photos, waiting for a tribute to her greatness. I took the microphone. Testing, I said. The feedback went slightly. The room went silent. Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Leo, Brenda's son. I've been away for a while, and tonight I want to show you exactly why. I looked at Brenda. She was smiling, but her eyes were confused. She sensed a shift in the air. My thumb hovered over the clicker. Mom, I said, looking her Ed in the eye. You always told me to pay my debts. Tonight I'm clearing the ledger. I clicked the button. There is a specific kind of silence that happens when a room full of people realizes they are witnessing a murder. Not a physical murder, but a social one. It starts with confusion, then uncomfortable laughter, and finally a heavy, suffocating dread. I watched that silence spread across the room like a virus. My mother, Brenda, was standing 5 feet away from me. She was still holding her champagne glass. She was still smiling, waiting for a picture of me in diapers. She got a picture of a felony instead. I clicked the remote. SLID won a black screen with white text. ISSETALLOCATRON THERELCOSTOFRISRNGLEO. What is this? Aunt Lyndall asked nervously from the front row. Is this a roast? Are you roasting her? Something like that, I said into the microphone. My voice was steady, clinical. I wasn't a son yelling at his mom. I was a forensic accountant presenting to a jury. I clicked again. SLIDE2. A split screen. Left side day scan of my rejected background check from 4 years ago. The number $245. Juror circled in read. Right side a photo from Brenda's Facebook, dated the same month. It was her posing on a boat. Caption, living my best life. Blessed hard work pays off. 4 years ago, I narrated, ignoring Brenda's sudden stiffening. I lost my dream job because of $250,000 in debt. Debt I didn't create. Debt attached to a social security number that belongs to me, but was used by someone else. Brenda took a step forward, her smile flickered. Leo, that's enough. It's not funny. Turn it off. I'm just getting started, Mom, I said. Sit down. I didn't yell it. I commanded it. The authority in my voice was so foreign to her that she actually froze. I clicked. SLIDE 3A timeline graph. Title, The Kitchen Renovation versus the Student Loan. In 2020, while I was eating instant noodles to save money for textbooks, a loan was taken out in my name for $50. Zerith, it was listed as home improvement. I pointed the laser pointer at the screen. It was a red dot dancing on the graph. Here is the loan application. You'll notice the signature, it says Leo. But if you look at the metadata of the digital submission, it was sent from an iPad registered to Brenda's iCloud account. The room rippled with murmurs. People were squinting at the screen. Leo, Brenda shrieked. It wasn't a cute shriek anymore. It was sharp. Panic was setting in. You are ruining my party. I paid for everything. Not off right now or I'm calling security. Security? I asked. Good idea. Maybe I can explain this. I clicked to the next slide. Mass LIDE for video footage. This was the kill shot. The room went dead silent. The video was grainy but clear enough. It was from a hidden camera. Shot by Miller, my PI. It showed Brenda sitting in a cafe with a shady-looking man. On the huge projector screen, everyone watched Brenda slide a driver's license across the table. Audio from the video plays through the speakers. Brenda, it's my son's ID. HES, out of state. I need you to notarize this power of attorney so I can access the trust account. He won't know. Notary, shady guy. It'll cost you double since he INT here. Brenda, fine. Just get it done. I need the deposit for Spain by Friday. The video looped. He won't know. He won't know. He won't know. I looked at the crowd. Their jaws were on the floor. Aunt Linda had her hand over her mouth. The church friends looked like they had seen a demon. I turned to Brenda. She wasn't red anymore. She was pale. Ghostly pale. The champagne glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. Crash. That's fake, she stammered. She looked around wildly for support. You stay It's that deep fake stuff. HES trying to frame me because I wouldn't give him money. Is the bank statement fake too, Mom? I asked. I clicked again. This was the part I had added just for the guests. Revenge isn't just about hurting the villain, it's about taking away their army. SLIDE5 The Spain Fund Breakdown. You're all celebrating Brenda's move to Spain, I said, addressing the room directly. You think she's a savvy investor. But I did some digging into where the money for that villa actually came from. I looked at Aunt Linda. Linda, you co-signed a business loan for Brenda last year, didn't you? For her consulting firm? Linda stood up, shaky. Yes. She said it was a bridge loan. There is no consulting firm, Linda. I said gently. The loan was cashed out to pay off the gambling debts she racked up using my identity. And the remainder? It's the down payment for the villa. I clicked. A bank transfer record appeared. From Linda's name joint account to Cost Adels Real Estate Holdings. She stole from me first, I said, when I ran out of credit. She moved on to you. Then I looked at the church group table. Mrs. Higgins, the Retirement Investment Club Brenda runs, the one you all put $10,000 into? Mrs. Higgins nodded, looking terrified. It's a Ponzi scheme. The dividends she paid you last month came from Linda Sloan. The account is currently empty. SLIDE6 a screenshot of the account balance $42. 18. Chaos. Absolute chaos. Mrs. Higgins screamed. Aunt Linda looked like she was going to faint. Man in the back, one of the neighbors, stood up and shouted, Brenda, where's my money? The queen was dethroned. The facade hadn't just cracked, it had exploded. Brenda was cornered. She stood by the projector screen, trembling. The light from the projector made her look distorted. She looked at the angry mob of her friends and family. Then she looked at me. Her eyes were filled with pure, distilled hatred. You ungrateful little brat, she hissed. She lunged at me. Actually lunged. But I didn't flinch. I didn't move. The security guards, who had come in when the shouting started, stepped in between us. Ma'am, step back. The guard said, "H.E.S. lying." She screamed, spit flying from her mouth. "I.H.E.S. a drug addict. H.E.S. mentally ill. None of this is true." I walked up to the edge of the stage. I looked down at her. "I have one last slide, Mom." I clicked. SLIDE 7A PDF of a court order. Title C IVRLLAWSU ITC RMILFRAUDRE NFE RAL. Defendant Brenda last name, status SERVED. "I didn't just come here to show a PowerPoint," I said, my voice cutting through the noise. "I came to serve you." I reached into my suit jacket. I pulled out a thick envelope. The real, physical, legal papers. I walked down the steps. The crowd parted for me like the Red Sea. Nobody wanted to touch me. I was the angel of death. I walked right up to Brenda. She was breathing hard, her chest heaving, trapped by the security guards. "You said you were helping me build credit," I said quietly, so only she could hear. "Well, I'm helping you build a record." I slapped the envelope against her chest. She instinctively grabbed it. "You've been served," I said. "Happy retirement." I turned around. The room was in shambles. Aunt Linda was crying into a napkin. The church ladies were surrounding Brenda, demanding answers. The DJ had stopped the music. I didn't stay to watch the fallout. I didn't need to. The math was done. I walked toward the exit. "Leo," Brenda screamed from behind me. It was a guttural, desperate sound. "You can't do this. I'm your mother." I stopped at the double doors. I didn't turn around. "No," I said loud enough to be heard. "You were just an identity thief who happened to give birth to me." I pushed the doors open and walked out into the cool night air. My rental car was waiting. The silence outside was beautiful. I took a deep breath. For the first time in years. The air didn't taste like anxiety. It tasted like freedom. But I wasn't done yet. The party was over. But the legal war was just beginning. And I intended to take everything. People always ask me, "Did you feel bad?" Did I feel bad watching my 62-year-old mother get served with a fraud lawsuit in front of her entire social circle? Did I feel bad when she screamed my name as I walked away? I thought I would. I thought I'd feel a twinge of guilt. But as I drove away from that country club, looking at the rearview mirror, I realized something. I didn't feel bad. I felt lighter. I had just performed surgery. I cut out the tumor. And now the healing could finally begin. Here is what happened after the screens went black. The 24 hours after the party were a blur of chaos, but for once, it wasn't my chaos. My burner phone stayed silent because nobody had the number, but my lawyer, Marcus, was fielding calls nonstop. First, it was Aunt Linda. Remember how she tried to guilt-trip me into coming? Well, after seeing that bank transfer proof and Brenda stole her money too, Linda flipped faster than a pancake. She wasn't an enabler anymore, she was a victim. She called Marcus the next morning, not to defend Brenda, but to ask if she could join the lawsuit as a co-plaintiff. Then, there were the church ladies. Mrs. Higgins filed a police report regarding the Ponzi scheme that very night. Brenda didn't go to Spain. She went to the emergency room for a panic attack, which we later learned was a ploy to delay the police interview. And then she went to a lawyer. But here is the thing about facts: they don't care about your tears. Because I had spent 4 years preparing. The legal case wasn't a battle. It was a massacre. In court, Brenda's lawyer tried the elderly confusion defense. Argument, Your Honor. My client is an older woman who simply didn't understand the complexities of modern banking. She thought she had implied permission to use her son's information. I rebutted the video. We played the clip of her paying the notary to forge my signature. We played the audio of her saying, "He won't know." The judge was not amused. You don't accidentally buy a boat. You don't accidentally forge a notary seal. The verdict to avoid a lengthy prison and sentence for wire fraud and identity theft, Brenda accepted a plea deal. Full admission of guilt. She had to formally admit, on public record, to identity theft. This was the golden ticket I needed to clear my name with the credit bureaus. Restitution, the debt, all $245,000 of it, was legally transferred back to her name. Asset seizure since she couldn't pay it, the court ordered the liquidation of her assets. The house on Maple Drive, sold. The villa in Spain down payment, seized. Her actual retirement savings, frozen and garnished to pay back Aunt Linda and the church group. She was left with nothing. About 6 months after the court case settled, I received a letter. It was forwarded by my lawyer. It was from Brenda. I sat in my new apartment, a place I bought legally with my restored 790 credit score. I held the envelope. It smelled like her perfume, a visceral trigger. I opened it. Dearest Leo, I am living in a small studio apartment now. I had to get a job as a cashier at Walmart to make ends meet. My legs hurt all day. I hope you're happy. I know I made mistakes with money, but I did it for us, to give us a good life. I forgive you for what you did at the party. I am your mother and I will always love you. Please, call me. I am so lonely. Love, Mom. I read it twice. I forgive you. Even now, stripped of everything, living in ruin. He was still trying to be the bigger person. She was still trying to rewrite history, where she was the martyr and I was the villain who needed forgiveness. She took no accountability. Mistakes with money is not the same as felony identity theft. I didn't burn the letter. That's too dramatic. I put it in the shredder. Burn. I didn't call her. I didn't write back. I enforced the ultimate boundary. Indifference. Last week, I applied for a new job. It was a senior analyst role at a competitor of the firm that fired me 4 years ago. The interview went great. Then came the dreaded words, "We need to run a background check." I smiled. Go ahead. 3 days later, I got the email. Background check. I'll ERAD. Credit history. EXCMPLARY. I got the job. I got the signing bonus. And for the first time in my life, the money in my bank account belongs to me. So, that's my story. My mother tried to mortgage my future to pay for her present. She thought that, because she gave me life, she owned it. He was wrong. She is currently working a minimum wage job to pay off a boat she no longer has, for a son she no longer knows. I am currently sitting on my balcony, drinking a coffee that I paid for, looking at a view that I earned. Some people say, but she's your mother. You only get one. That's true. You only get one mother. But you also only get one life. And I refuse to let her spend mine.